Good evening and welcome to the Urbanly Young Professional St. Louis Town Hall. Our topic this evening is one that is timely and important. As we know, since March of this year, our nation has changed drastically because of COVID-19, a nationwide pandemic that has affected our lives in many ways. Offices, businesses, and schools instantly closing. Here in St. Louis, as our new school year approaches, students, faculty members, staff, parents, and many are preparing for a transition back to school, virtually, in the classroom, or both. So, are we really ready? I'm Stacy Pugh. I'll be your host for this evening. My career has ranged from working with students on the collegiate level in the classrooms to the nonprofit space to on campus and doing admissions. Tonight, I'm joined by a wonderful panel who will work with students in our community directly in so many ways, and I would like for them to introduce themselves. I would like to start with Dr. Sparkling.
Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Andrea Sparkling. I'm starting my 9th year as a classroom teacher. I've served students in St. Louis Public Schools, Rittner, and now in Kirkwood. And I've also served as a district teacher leader and an adjunct at Harristow.
Mr. Eric Cooper.
How you all doing? My name is Eric Cooper. I am Director of Enrollment and Marketing for Cardinal Ritter College Prep, entering my 5th year in this position. And we work in the private school sector.
Ms. Alicia Marshall.
Hi, I'm Alicia Marshall. I am entering my 10th year in education. I was a classroom teacher, reading interventionist, and academic instructional coach with the St. Louis Public Schools. I am currently a reading specialist in Webster Groves School District for grades 3rd through 5th.
Mrs. Tyrone Martin.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Tyrone Martin, or Coach Martin. I'm currently at Bishop DeBerg High School, assistant athletic director and head football coach.
Mr. Dwayne Foster.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dwayne Foster. I am in my 15th year in the Normandy Schools Collaborative. I am currently the Fine Arts Coordinator, as well as the Drama and Choir teacher at Normandy High School.
And Dr. Kendra Holmes.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kendra Holmes. I am the Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Affinia Healthcare. Affinia Healthcare provides primary and preventive healthcare services to underserved communities in St. Louis City and County. By underserved, I mean homeless, uninsured, Medicaid patients, all individuals in need of healthcare services.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you all for joining us this evening as we are preparing to go back into the schools, or not, however the school year is going to go. We're going to discuss that this evening, but I want to thank you for your time. I want to say to our audience that this conversation is very open. If you have any questions or you want to add any comments to the conversation, please be sure to put that in the chat below. But this is an open conversation. I'm just really excited that we can talk about how are we moving forward with going into the school year. But my first thing I want to do before getting started, and this is open to everyone on the panel, is I want to do a recap, because we did in an instant just go into this full lockdown, a full change, in March. We had, like I said, schools just instantly, students leaving school, having to go home, having to figure out how to be students at home, parents trying to figure it out, and also staff members in our community just trying to figure out what is going on with COVID-19. So I want to just go back and see, like, how are you all, has it been since we've left school in March and we've transitioned and finished out the school year and went into summer? If you all want to just speak on how it's impacted you as a parent, how it's impacted you as working in the schools. And I mean, it's just, we need to recap because there's been a lot going on. I can direct that. Anyone can start.
I'll start. Just as a 5th grade teacher, there was no closure. So the students that I had this past year, I will not see anymore. I thought I would see them after spring break. So there really wasn't any closure when it came to ending off that school year, because most teachers will still see their kids going into the elementary setting, but I won't. So, I mean, that impacted them as well as me, because they missed out on a lot with that being their last year in elementary school, and I missed out on just saying a simple goodbye. It was really rough because it was so unexpected.
Right. So for you, your district didn't go virtual.
No, we went virtual, but
Okay.
it was a lot of, the end of the year. Well, when you end off 5th grade, it's like this big party and all this other stuff because they won't be coming back to the building. So they missed out on all of that. We did virtual learning, but it just wasn't the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I definitely want to echo that it was not the same, and it was quite daunting. As a drama teacher, we were in the middle of preparing for our spring musical, which we look forward to every year. It brings out the community, and the kids have put in a lot of work, and it stopped. It's completely. And not only that, just the whole idea of not being able to help my seniors, get through the college preparations and scholarship preparations and auditions. We were able to complete some things virtually, but it's not the same thing in preparing them for this next step in their lives. So that was really a lot of mental stress on my part as well as the students.
Yeah.
Just looking from a academic standpoint, I can say that with me being a reading specialist, it set a lot of my students backwards. These are students who are already struggling to keep up within their classroom and their general content areas. And I can truly say that me meeting with them once a week virtually was just not enough. They were seeing me 30, 45 minutes daily, and I noticed a lot of regression. And also just us being put into the virtual learning in March. Suddenly, we were put into it during spring break. So it was, how fast can we get curriculum? So I felt like we were not able to support families as efficiently as possible in the spring. So those are things that we worked on pretty much all summer long, and what I worked on, and how can I best fit those students who were already struggling, they were already behind. How can I get them prepared this year and be a better asset and support to them? So that was my biggest struggle, was that academic piece, where I already saw the lowest of the low students who needed me, and to be pulled from them, that was very hard emotionally and just mentally, trying to constantly give them the support. But I also was struggling in the spring as well with just being quarantined and everything. So
I think we can say was that everyone's reality, right? That you all are struggling as well with also trying to help your students navigate this hard transition. I know I'm kind of moving towards, we can get to like mental health and, support from, what I really want to move towards is, how did you all get supported through the school with that transition as you're trying to support your students? Or was it just, we just don't know, or, we're looking to see what other districts are doing, or we're looking to see what other states and cities are doing? What really helped? What worked? What didn't work?
I guess I'll speak from a private school sector. With us having a small population of students, I'm not going to say we were fortunate. I'm going to say that we were somewhat accidentally prepared for the shutdown in March. We have been in the process of developing our e-learning curriculum and our virtual classrooms based on the snow days that we had, the cold weather. And it just so happened we had to roll it out faster than we wanted to. But as far as preparing the students and giving support to the students, we had to lean heavily on our counselors, our in-school counselors, not the guidance counselors, but our counselors that work with kids from a mental standpoint, and helping them get through this, because it was nothing they'd never seen before. A lot of them missed out on big events such as prom, graduation. So what we did was, like we're doing now, man, we utilize Zoom a lot, from providing, get it off your chest rooms and just talk rooms with our counselors and our administrators and staff that, the students love, give them an opportunity to see our faces outside of the virtual learning space, which helped them ease back into the learning space on the computer a little bit easier. Through social media, staying engaged, And as far as our teachers, man, it was hard because we couldn't physically see each other. So I know one thing we did was little surprise things for our teachers, like popping up with signs on the yard and things like that, because I think a lot of times when it comes to virtual learning and its hindrance, people forget about the educators.
Yeah.
They focus so much on the students, which rightfully so is true, but these educators have to be in a mental space to educate students. So that was one thing we really reached out and tried to keep them in a high spirit to get through this so we can transition into where we are now.
Awesome.
Oh, can I go next here?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be real with you. The Band-Aid came off. The Band-Aid came completely off. And what I mean by that is everything was exposed. The inequities with students not having the technology. We tried to get as much technology out, but if you have a family of 4 kids in school and only 1 computer, that wasn't going to work. You had parents who weren't able to connect to what we were offering with the hotspots because they might have had balances with Spectrum or with AT&T, and they could not get services. But the other Band-Aid that I'm talking about is the lack of communication from teachers to parents. And teachers have become complacent over the years and not really communicating with parents the way that they should have been. And this right here completely, it was our responsibility to really make daily contacts with parents and students to make sure they were getting online. And then the Band-Aid of the parent realizing that their child had reading issues, had reading and comprehension issues that they didn't know anything about, because for so many years they've been sending their child to school, not realizing that, yes, the children need to learn how to read, but they also need to learn how to act. And so a lot of teachers have been focusing so much on teaching kids how to act because of just the reality that we have to get control of our classroom. So parents realize that my child doesn't read well, doesn't comprehend very well. What have I been doing in this whole scheme called education? So that Band-Aid was ripped off. So it's a lot was revealed.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nose when you just said this. The light just bulb came on, I think, for everyone, right? For the student, for the teacher, for the parent. Like, a lot of things just kind of came on for everyone, because it's just like, we're making this transition. Some parents just send their students to school and they're thinking they're just doing the work. And when you send them home now and you're doing the work, I've seen so many parents that was on Facebook and like, they're the parent, they're the teacher now, and they are having to observe and they're doing the work and they're so I think it's just a lot of things that happen that we know are not going to be the same as we move forward. And so as we recap and we think about how that has impacted just everything, and now we're moving into reopening, how do you think this reopening is really going to happen? I know everyone is from different districts. We're going from public to private to city to county. Everyone is having, their own agendas as far as what their school is letting them do as far as going back to school. So are we ready as far as students and parents, students, staff, faculty? Where are we at?
Okay, so I'm going to speak from to kind of just piggyback off what Mr. Foster said.
Yeah.
Band-Aid was ripped off in the spring, so now it's that accountability piece. Yes. So whereas it's accountability from all standpoints. So parents now understand, my child is a little further behind than what I thought, because what a lot of people don't realize is at that primary level, and even part of the secondary level, if kids complete the work and participate in class, they're going to pass. But that does not mean that they are competent or meeting the needs of their grade level. They're reading on grade level. They're doing math on grade level. So a lot of the grading systems in the school, we've realized that we really have to show kids to be more accountable of their own learning, but it also starts in the place of home. We are not their first teachers. And so a lot of parents really got that wake-up call of, oh, I just don't send my child and they come back to me and they're perfect. They learn everything. So I think the accountability piece, as far as the teacher for us on the planning side, making sure they receive everything, because a lot of teachers were shell shocked when they realized, oh, I can't just give a worksheet. I can't just send a packet. I have to do live teaching. I have to really show that I can do my job. So a lot of teachers got shell shocked that way, especially those who didn't already use Google Classroom or any form of technology to connect to their kids. But I feel like now the teachers need to be accountable as far as making sure lessons are direct and they are allowing students to really show what they know. And then parents need to be accountable to make sure that students are actually doing the work. If we've had this summer to get technology into the hands of those students, those who don't, I hope and I pray school districts are working on that, so that all students have what they need, whether it's a hotspot or anything. But really, parents also need to be accountable of making sure students are showing up to that computer screen. They're showing up to those Zoom meetings. They are reaching out to their teachers and saying, hey, I don't understand this and I want to support my child. But parents have to be advocate for their students' learning, because a lot of kids can fall through the cracks if they have no one to advocate for them. So that's something that we also need to think about during this upcoming school year. So yes, you don't have to buy clothes as far as for school, back to school clothes, but right now laptops and Kindles and stuff, they're $100. That's the same price as some high paid tennis shoes right now. So it's like, switch that up. You're not getting shoes this year, you're getting a laptop this year. Or just really reach out to the teacher. What can I do to make them successful? So even if you're working all day, make sure you're spending at least 2 hours with them when you get off work, so that they finish their work. Finish their classwork if they're with a sitter or something during the day while you're at work. So I always say we have to be flexible. Teachers need to be flexible. If that kid can't be at the Zoom meeting, make sure you're recording it and you're still posting it so that they can go back to it in the evening with their parents. But I feel like now everybody needs to step up and be accountable to make sure that these kids are successful this year. This is new to everyone, so we can't point a finger, but we can show up for them and we can hold ourselves accountable to prepare them as best as possible.
So I want to go into, so you're speaking more of like if students were going virtual, but we do have some school districts and some schools who are like making kids physically come into the classroom, and we also have hybrid. So can anyone speak to if their district is doing that? What are the procedures? What are we rolling out? I don't know. It's pretty current topic. We've seen the school down in Georgia, the full hallway of all the students in the high school walking around with masks on and or have on, and now boom, it's the next week and there's cases, that have popped up. So are any of you all schools going in the classroom?
We are.
So I just want to talk a little bit about the healthcare perspective and a little bit of the parents' perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately impacted African Americans, African American children. The socioeconomic impact has really been devastating on the population that I serve. Affinia Healthcare serves a population where about 95% of our patients live in poverty. So when we talk about the technology divide, the lack of access to tablets, that's what we see every day for our population. And you talk about, unemployment. We were at double-digit unemployment before COVID. So COVID has absolutely devastated a lot of the African American communities, the impoverished communities. So what I'm seeing is that a lot of parents are, there's a lot of mental health issues. There's a ton of just income issues. When we talk about, just being able to afford food, a lot of children really rely on the breakfast and the lunch at school, just for regular nourishment. So just not having that support, we're seeing that has really devastated a lot of families as well. And then, I understand that there is definitely a risk for children to go back to school. We all know that there is a risk. But there's also a risk with children not going to school. And,
Mhm.
we see an increase in the amount of accidental gun shootings with children not going to school. Of course, we have just the poverty piece. Also, something that we don't like to talk about is that we have an increased amount of child abuse and sexual abuse when children don't go back to school. So I just want to emphasize the fact that every child's home is not safe. For a lot of children, school is much safer than their home. So it's really important for us to have a balance and understand that we want to protect educators. We absolutely want to protect educators. We absolutely want to protect children. But there are children who absolutely need to go to school.
So Dr. Holmes, I have a question to that. Because you're working in the health side of everything, what can we do? Do you think we're ready to reopen, and how do we help those students who actually need school, need to go to school for safety net but also stay safe? Like, what do you think will be? How can you speak to that?
So I think it really is dependent on the school district and the planning. I look a lot to the Jennings School District. I think Dr. Art McCoy has done an absolutely fantastic job in his planning for back to school. And I think he understands the fact that there is a risk for children not going back to school.
Right.
And it's really all about planning. You have to have infection control policies. You have to understand the CDC requirements. You have to understand, the fact that there is a need for social distancing. But it will take a lot of planning. It's going to take a lot of education with the educators and the administration. And I think it is possible, to be quite honest with you, I think it is possible to assure the safety of educators and children. But everyone has to be on board. Everyone has to be on board and understand the importance of assuring the safety of educators and children.
I agree. So I want to go back into just protocols and just the reopening that's happening now, because Mr. Foster, you're saying that your students are going to be 100% in school,
So
right?
yeah, let me explain how it is for us. The Schools Collaborative recently, because it changes quite frequently, has chosen to do 5th through 12th grade virtual,
Okay.
pre-K through 4th grade in-person optional. And that was done literally to make sure that our babies are getting the services they need. They've been out for such a long time. It's such a crucial time for them. And the fact that them being away from the school environment for all the reasons that Dr. Holmes mentioned, as well as the academic reason, they are given the option to come to school. And now, me stating that is not necessarily me agreeing with it. I'm just giving that information. I'm still still, I guess, feeling guilty from moving from being an advocate for children, which I have always considered myself to be an advocate for children, to becoming more of an advocate for teachers in this particular case, because I just don't feel that if a scientist or any medical professional can completely and totally guarantee that I'm or my colleagues won't catch COVID, take it home to our parents if we're caregivers, kids taking it home to their grandparents, because a lot of grandparents are raising these kids.
Right.
If we can guarantee that that's not going to happen, then I can see it working or see us trying it. But with us just doing pre-K through 4th grade, that does give us the opportunity to really socially distance those kids properly, to spread them out. The curriculum is changing up. They're focusing mainly on English and math. And then in the afternoon, there will be some type of enrichment, but those kids will have full days at school. So that's what they're planning for now.
At Cardinal Ritter, do you mind if I go, Stacey?
No, go ahead, Eric.
So at Cardinal Ritter, we first of all, before I even get started on what we're doing, I think I want to take time out and give kudos and a yeoman's thank you to the administration of schools, public, private, parochial, whatever it is, because I don't think people understand that it's not an easy job to be straddled with in order to reopen the school or to close the school, to hinder the educational growth, or to impact the health of one person. That's a huge burden to carry.
Absolutely.
And it has kept me and my colleagues up at night trying to make it happen. So for all the administrators that's out there, I want to give you all a big shout out and keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, because there is no right or wrong answer. Only what we've been trained and educated to do, and listen to the right people and make the best decision. I'm not going to say the right decision, but the best decision. But at Cardinal Ritter College Prep, we are taking a staggered approach to reentering the building. For the first 3 weeks, we start school August 24th. For the first 3 to 4 weeks, I believe we're going to have only one class in the building per day, starting with the seniors and then on down to juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. And the rest, when they're not in the building, you'll be e-learning in actual virtual classrooms with a virtual schedule where you will go out of one Zoom class into another Zoom class. And we're going to look at that and reassess it and progress to 2 classes in the building. And then hopefully we can transition all of our students back into our halls. Now, contrary to popular internet belief, we're not just going to open the door and allow kids to walk in like it's 2018.
Right.
We are been hand in hand with local health officials, watching state health information and nationwide information from the CDC and stuff like that to make educated decisions on how to move. Not simple things, but things like installing temperature scanners, dividers inside of our hallways. Our student-teacher ratio is already pretty low, but we're going down even further to 15 kids per class. That's according to measurements that for the teacher to be safe and the students to be safe, you can only get 15 desks inside of a room, including the teacher's desk.
Wow.
Those are things that you have to study to come up with. That we will do prepackaged lunch. We will limit the amount of interaction inside of our lunch areas. No cash transactions inside of our cafeteria. We are encouraging students to bring their lunch or to use the My School ID PIN code to cut down on hand-to-hand cash transactions. There's a host of other things that we are doing inside of our building through the trained eye of health officials and our principal and our president. But we're not just opening the doors. I think people kind of take that and run with it, and they see instances like in Georgia and stuff like that. I do not think that's an exception. That's not the rule for schools reopening the doors. I always I was informed of Jennings' progress by my president, and I'm looking like, why didn't I see that on the news? Why isn't the KCK picking that up or anything like that? That these people that are paid and have been educated to have the safety of our babies are doing the things they need to do to get it right. Not all the way right, but doing the best they can. And it's not going to be as soon as my kid leaves home, they're going to get sick. So me, I personally have battled with this. I am for the reopening of schools if done the right way. Our babies have been out of the structural educational system for over almost 7 months. That's longer than they've ever been outside of a school system. And engaging them through virtual, though effective, there's a large majority of kids, and the majority of them are going to be Black, that's going to be hindered from this from this style of education. So I think we have to, take our education, our knowledge, and put our brains together. We can reopen these halls to allow these teachers to safely educate our children, because if we don't, then we're going to be saddled with a generation of kids that are behind.
Absolutely. Mr. Martin, I want to follow up with you because you working with students directly, as far as extracurricular activities, specifically, I'm your athletic director, but also a football coach. How was that impacted from March to now, and to think about the future when it comes to sports? And if you have students who are virtual, if you have students who are coming into the schools, what is your thoughts right now as far as that? Because for some students, that's that's what they're looking forward to when they're, their school year is to be able to do extracurricular activities, play sports. So what are your thoughts?
Right now, our students are practicing, preparing for an upcoming season. We've just been given a letter stating that it's up to the school now to decide whether they want to participate in the fall or if they want to move their fall sports to the spring. So it's going to be on the administration of the athletic department to make those decisions because we've been given the okay if you're virtual schooling that you can still have sports now. So that's a way to, keep those students and kids, involved in their athletic portion of their schooling without actually going to school, but they can still show up in the evening and participate in practice and things like that. With CDC guidelines, of course, you got to show up with a mask. You bring your own water bottle and things of that nature. But, just talking to some of my guys on a daily basis, everyone is nervous. Everyone is concerned. Like all parents, I'm a parent and also, in education. Right. So there is a concern from both angles with me. But just to piggyback on what Mr. Cooper was saying, I'm at DeBerg, and we're doing a hybrid where the kids have the option to come in the classroom or they can go virtual. But the teachers have to be available for the students in both forms and fashions, and we use Google Classroom. All those practices are in place. We're doing mandatory face masks throughout the entire day. Encourage bag lunch, but we offer bag lunch. All those things, hand sanitizers in every classroom, no more than 10 to 15 desks per class. The teachers are also given water bottles to spray down a desk afterwards with, like a Lysol type of cleaner. We're taking every measure that we can and, hopefully, we talked about hope this morning in our PD, and I'm hopeful that everything is a success with going this route, and hopefully others can follow it, and we can start to eliminate that fear.
Right. Are your districts requiring you to be tested before returning back to school, or no? Are they requiring any students to be tested for COVID before returning back?
No.
At the time, no.
No.
So everything is, Dr. Sparkling, your school is hybrid or 100% online?
Oh, it's 100% online for the first quarter, which I think is 9 weeks. Is that 9 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's leaving you all to work at home, or do you all have to go into the classroom or go into your office, or?
We're still unclear about that. Right now, it's just from home. Personally, I would rather work from my classroom, but I don't know if that would be an option. But that's a question that I'm still waiting on an answer for.
That's true, and I think that's where a lot of you are probably at, as far as waiting on things to just come out. Yeah. Dr. Holmes, I do want to ask, as I asked the panelists who do have students returning to school or do have to return to the classroom and they're not requiring testing, what are your thoughts on that?
So Affinia Healthcare has tested about 11,000 individuals since April. So we're doing quite a bit of testing. And we're currently working with St. Louis Public Schools. And St. Louis Public Schools has a plan where they're virtual, but they have what they call resource centers for students to actually come in to do the virtual learning. And I'm just really for that, because again, a lot of students need to be in the classrooms or just be at a location. We do have parents who need to work. And, you know, I know that that is important, you know, because you have to still pay your bills and pay your rent. So St. Louis Public Schools has a model where they have certain schools that are open for the virtual learning. And they have certain faculty and educators who are there to support the children. Not all of the educators are there. Educators who are more vulnerable, who may have autoimmune deficiencies, or who are older, are the individuals who are not there, which makes complete sense. So we're testing all of the St. Louis Public Schools educators, all of their faculty and staff. And honestly, I think that is what you need to do if you're going to require any of the educators to be in contact with the children. Because, I mean, let's just be honest. So children, unfortunately, are often carriers of COVID-19. We do realize that children are often carriers. Just in the last 2 weeks, there were 97,000 children who tested positive for COVID-19. So, but the issue with the children is, of that 97,000, only 2% were hospitalized. So the vast majority of children are going to have mild symptoms. They're going to have mild symptoms, but what they will do is transfer that illness to educators, to the grandparents, to individuals who they come in contact. So that is the true risk. Now, I just want to say again, if one child becomes sick, if one child goes to the hospital, that's one child too many, in my opinion. But the true risk really is for the educators, the individuals who, you know, who have chronic illnesses, those grandparents that they come in contact with. Honestly, if we really look at the statistics, the children are generally going to be okay. So we need to protect those educators. So we need to make sure that, you know, the educators are tested on a regular basis, not just one time. Anytime these educators come in contact with the children, they need to be tested. We need to make sure that the educators that come in contact with children have N95 masks, they have gowns, they have everything that they need. And honestly, I think that our local governments have not done a great job with assuring that the educators have what they need. That should have been the priority from day one, to make sure the educators were taken care of.
I'm glad you brought that up, but I don't want to get into too much of the political arena with it, you know, because it's just all about reopening schools. But of course, kind of goes back to that just a little bit. What can parents, what can educators, what can students do to hold our government, our state government, accountable to us reopening and just some of the procedures? Do you all have any thoughts on that? I don't want to get too deep into it.
I wish there was universal procedures for the entire country, for the entire state, for, you know, I just wish there were universal procedures as far as opening schools, especially because we have, like, my district, who is very resource fluent. So we really, the kids that are in poverty or need that extra assistance, we have the means. But then I look at, like, St. Louis Public School District, that's a district that I came from that is very limited. And those are those high risk, crucial need kids who need to be in school. Look at their lack of resources and how, you know, just word of mouth, they were still giving out tablets on the last day of school in May. So disproportionate, they've been out for 7 months. So that is my wish, is that education would not be so segregated in a, and all students would receive an equal and adequate funding, so that when issues like this come up, they are prepared. So during spring break, we were passing out tablets to make sure those students in hotspots received what they need. But SLPS is the largest public district in the St. Louis metropolitan area, and they haven't received that same funding and those same adequate resources. So that would be my hope, and that would be my wish, is that we all had the same playing field when it came to resources, when it came to teacher readiness, and when it came to PPE. that would be the biggest thing.
Agreed.
We could go down a rabbit hole of
I
the
know.
disparities in education as it relates to
Right.
our government and how education is always an afterthought to support, but it's the first thought to cut. And that's a problem because education produces the people that make these decisions, you know, the lawyers that, you know, fight these cases, the doctors that heal these people, but it's always the first thing to get the back end, especially education in lower economic communities and things like that. And that's a whole nother conversation, but in dealing with real time and the fight that we can, you know, fight at the moment, I always tell my parents when I'm recruiting them to Cardinal Ritter that education, this is for my sports fans out there, it's the triangle offensive education. It's us, you as the parent, as the student at the top of the key. And we need to consistently be rotating in order to make this play work. But once one of those pieces step away, that triangle becomes linear. And that rotation isn't there anymore. It's not effective as it was. So we all who play a part in that need to do everything in our power to make sure that we are successful for our kids, meaning that our parents need to be more engaged. They need to put education at the forefront and not as a secondary option, not as a babysitter, not as a place to watch the kids. You know, I know there's a lot of things that creates that, but it needs to move to the forefront, especially during this e-learning period. Teachers and faculty, we need to be available. We need to put extra effort into making this e-learning work. You may be up later. You may be on a call on Friday or Saturday, but we have to put that extra effort in, and then the student will benefit from it. But, you know, that's just from a grassroots thing. We can go down a rabbit hole of...
And I agree with you, right? I agree with you at those points, but also think about those parents who want to provide those resources for their student. They want to be that person, but I gotta go to work at 5 a.m. You know, I can't sit here and do the e-learning with you. I want to support you, but it's the same routine for me because essential. That's the word we've been hearing this whole COVID-19, right? Essential, essential, essential. So I want to support my student. I want to be there for them because they're going through this transition, but they have other things that they have to do as a parent to continue to provide for the household. So how do we support that parent? How do we support that parent that wants to be there for their student as they're transitioning, even if they're going into this classroom or if they're working and doing their classwork from home? Like, how do we support that parent that wants to help their student, but they are also like, I need help myself, you know?
I think that's where it came for that accountability piece.
Right.
Not expecting or holding kids accountable for them not turning in work at a certain time or a certain day, but being able to record a lot of your instruction. And if you have to have a Zoom at 7 o'clock at night, I mean, honestly, we're not supposed to be going anywhere anyway, so you're home.
Right.
But I mean, just being available to those kids, you know that there are many disparities in education among districts, cross districts, all of that. So I feel like just being there and being accountable as an educator, if it means I'm recording my lessons on top of doing live instruction, I'm doing a little bit more work. I'm giving them leniency of giving them extra days to turn things in, not holding kids accountable who don't want their video on Zoom, not making that the patient. You don't know what people's houses look like, and you know, the parents don't, want their houses to be recorded or want their children to be recorded. So flexible in how we're grading, how we're presenting this work. If kids do need worksheets to be mailed to them so they can work on things while they're with a grandparent or while they're with an aunt and uncle, then when they get to their parent later on that evening, they can talk to you via Zoom. Right. Just being more flexible in your instruction. Education is not all one size fits all. And administrators need to be aware of that as well. So not have the expectations upon teachers of teaching things one particular way when students don't learn one particular way. So I think that's a big thing of everybody coming together and being on board and supporting that parent. If that parent is working, say, hey, I can meet with you on a Saturday morning, or, let's go over this together, or how about I give them some type of work that they can work on independently to where you don't have to be present during the day. Doing what you can to fit the needs of your particular student population, to me, is best. Just being flexible and accountable.
And then just giving people grace. This is all very, very new to all of us. So just like giving people that room to make mistakes. The parents, I've always talked to all my parents about just advocating for yourself and for your child. If you are one of those people that don't have the resources that you need, your best bet is to reach out to your district. You can reach out to different churches. You can reach out to like things in your community, because everybody has been giving things away. Facebook, it's always something being given away. You really have to like get out there, and if your child is lacking anything like a resource or something like that, you have to speak up for your child. And it's the same thing with the kids. It's going to be harder for students to actually say, I need help, or I don't like this, or, anything like that. But having that conversation with them previously, like, hey, I don't really know what's going on either, but let's work this out together. And if you need help, then I'm going to advocate for you. Or if you're an older kid, then you need to begin to start advocating for yourself. What do you need? Just having that conversation, because everybody needs something, especially now.
So Dr. Sparkman, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Foster.
This is the whole idea of the irony of this situation is that even though we're looking at this as a new virtual situation or a virtual divide, it's kind of bringing us completely back to that one-room schoolhouse mentality. Not only did you know everyone, but sometimes the older kids help to teach the younger kids. So you have that situation within the household where you have older siblings. They have a dual responsibility now. They have to help their younger sibling. But it's also, I was talking to a colleague earlier about, we might have to create Zoom meetings for our parents on a weekly basis, where we just debrief and just say, woo, sorry about Wednesday. They didn't get it? I'm sorry. What do you need from me? It has to be just plain as day communication. And I think I like to look at everything on the good side of it. I think this is for a district like mine, like Normandy, we're trying to turn it around. I think this is something that we've been needing communication-wise to happen for us to get back to the place where we need to start making improvements. So I'm looking forward to this being something positive. Again, I don't think that teachers should be back in the classroom as of yet. I don't think teachers are going to be good in the sense of their anxiety levels might be at a place where they might not be what the kids need right now. I don't know if they could phase it in a little bit differently than they're doing it, but I just think I'm worried about teachers being available emotionally for
and so you actually are leading me into my next thought as we talk about resources and what we're providing to students, what we can't provide for them, and parents the same. Mental health, right? So I feel like everyone's mental health probably has been affected by this. As we just, like I said, we went from March, February, from January to March, life was just as normal as we thought it could be, and then all of this happened. So what resources do your districts have in place for mental health, for your staff, for educators, for the students, for the parents? What do you all know what is in place for your students when it comes to that? Have we ramped that up? Have we, brought in more counselors? Have you all taken some classes to see the trends? I'm seeing different faces, so I'm really intrigued to get an answer.
Sorry. You want to
go
go
ahead? No, go ahead.
Okay. So I know that Kirkwood has hired more counselors, and then we've adopted a new program called Second Step, which is all about social and emotional learning. We've been in training for that these past few weeks or whatever, and then we're going to have another training, but it's actually a program that we will be doing every day with the kids, and it's mostly just what are you feeling? How can I help you? That type of stuff. But I know that the counselors in that social emotional learning program has been adopted for this year.
We have taken a different approach as far as meeting the needs of our kid, the diversity, anti-bias, and racism route this school year, which is very needed, especially the climate that we are in currently and the things that happened while we were away from our kids and are still happening as we enter this new school year. So we are taking that approach as far as having our teachers ABAR trained to get rid of the biases, whether they are explicit or implicit. So a lot of it comes from our teachers. It's coming up down to trickle down to our students, and not just assuming that, you know, the district I'm in is predominantly white. So not just assuming that all the little Black kids are poor and they are struggling and they need but knowing that, you know, white kids are poor as well, and they need, and just really just getting rid of those biases. And so our counselors are doing a great job with having restorative circles for our kids. And we have Monday Matters every Monday. We had this prior to COVID, to where we are having class meetings with our kids. Our counselor is doing more lessons, more e-learning lessons. She's providing more support. Our social worker is doing a great job with being supportive of those families who need particular things. But again, we have the resources for that. So, you know, it's like, you know, I cannot.
So that's why I want to know, like,
yeah, it's such a divide.
Don't have it.
Yeah, we have the resources. I mean, me as a reading specialist, I'm constantly giving things to just my Facebook friends who I know have kids or who I know kids are in certain districts. I'm constantly giving them free resources like, hey, try this app for your kids while you're at work, or here are some free ways for them to have access to digital books. So just being that village per se for kids. And then for us, for my district, by us having such a low number of minority staff and teachers of color staff, we have formed a committee, a teacher of color committee that I am helped form, that we can support each other. We can do mental check-ins. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, do we need to have a meetup at a park somewhere and meet, but really checking on our mental health? Because if we are not able to show up for our kids cannot thrive. And so really just making sure that our teachers' mental health is important in doing those check-ins. Are you okay do you need help with with e-learning? Do you need help? Do you just need a break from your own kids? Because the reality is that a lot of us are parents. So we're teaching, and we have to also do e-learning for our kids well. And that's the biggest issue with us. So we have the option to either teach in the building for virtual learning or at home. And a lot of the teachers that are not teachers of color chose to be in school. And so just looking at the different, you know, disparities into that of just like, no, I don't want to get sick, so I'm staying home. But, you know, there are people in and out of the buildings, and just conscious of that, like, how is that affecting my mental when I know half of my team is in the building and they're collaborating and I'm at home? Do I feel isolated? So we've been doing a lot of things as far as like making sure that we are reaching out to those staff that are home and that chose the virtual option to be home the all school year, which means come October, they may not come back into the building. And those things are just really systems we have in place: check-ins, mental check-ins for our staff, mental check-ins for our kids, and then just also getting rid of the biases so that you can be your best self and support every child, no matter what. So that's what we're pretty much working on as a district.
Dr. Holmes, any resources around mental health for our students and parents and educators?
Oh, I'm a little partial to Mr. Foster at Normandy School District, because we have a school-based health center at Normandy High School, and I'm a little partial to Black and brown babies, just to be honest with you. We have increased our telehealth services. So we've actually hired additional LCSWs to help with the telehealth services for Normandy School District. So we were really fortunate to get some CARES Act funding from the county to purchase tablets for our high-risk students at Normandy School District to provide that service. So that's one thing that we're doing. And I just wanted to piggyback on that whole, the mental health for the educators. Again, you know, I think if parents don't, and I'm speaking more so as a parent with this, if you don't know, like, if you didn't know before how
Right.
important educators were, you know now when you're doing that in-home learning, how difficult it was. And I think this is a great time to advocate for increased pay for educators.
Hallelujah.
There are lots of bad things about COVID, but I think one great thing about COVID is that we need to advocate for better pay, better resources for educators, because, and now more than ever, we know the importance of educators. If not, you should know the importance of an educator. And that, you know, so much of our children's future is dependent on educators. I mean, personally, my future was definitely dependent on the educators in my life. So, I mean, I think, you know, teachers need to take this opportunity to say, look, you need to pay us what we are worth.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree. I want to also ask, are your schools providing what other resources? So food. So right now I'm a program manager for a food access program. We've been feeding students the whole summer, Appetite for Humanity. And I've seen the need for food throughout the summer for our students. They want to know, they also want to know other resources as far as shelter and just so many things, right? So is your school district providing, are they ramping up in those areas as far as food and shelter and laptops and tablets? Like what is happening in some of you all schools when it comes
I think
to
especially with Miss Marshall and myself, we are neighbors. As far as our districts go, because I'm Kirkwood, she's Webster. So
Right.
a lot of the same things that Webster is doing, we are too. So all of our kids pretty much had the technology anyway. I think the only kids that didn't really have them like to take home and stuff were like second to preschool, I believe. So everybody pretty much either had a iPad or a MacBook to take home with them like every day anyway for a class. So they had those resources. I know that they did provide food, the food options to come get food during the day when we were actually in school in the springtime and things like that. If they needed like certain books and stuff, I think the librarian was still there and she would provide those types of things for the kids. But resource wise, we are a little bit more fortunate in that respect because we've already had those resources from the beginning.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I know we're doing a back to school pickup for all of our students as far as parents having days to come and pick up school supplies. Those parents who are new incoming kids, like our incoming kindergartners and any incoming kids within the district, we are providing them with the technology equipment if they did not receive it back in March. But a lot of our kids kept their Chromebooks, their laptops. And when we say it was 1-to-1, it was 1-to-1. So if you had 4 kids, you received 4 Chromebooks. And so that way learning could continue. And as far as food services, we are still providing food services. We stopped those over the summer because it wasn't a need in our district. But we will resume those, so they will still get what they was receiving, where they receiving breakfast for the next day and lunch for the day every time they came. So they were able to do it. And we were also doing drop-offs for that. And then I also would tell parents, if you need more, and it was for any kid. It wasn't just for our district kids, but any kids were able to come get breakfast and lunch. And that's any child under 18. So it was just for anybody within our area. We weren't asking if you attended Webster Groves, come and get you a lunch. And I think that will Zoom as well. But also I know for city parents, the access of making sure even if you did not qualify for government service as far as stamps for food, they were allowing those to apply and get that extra money you need for food for the kids for during the day, on top of providing meals for them throughout the day as well.
So for Normandy, we have throughout the summer, we have not let up on meals for kids.
Awesome.
Our security guards and our bus drivers have gone out daily to pass out meals. That's going to continue to take place. As of last count, and I just want to make sure that I'm definitely, I think the last count was 712 students received their technology. So we should be completely full. Every student should have a Chromebook
That's
or
great.
some access to technology, the Normandy Schools Collaborative. So that's great to know as well. And I'm just glad that Dr. Holmes mentioned the whole mental health piece for the teacher, because that is one piece that I have not heard a lot of in my district, and I hope that it's something that they will address soon. I am going to bring it to their attention because it's definitely something that we need to know what words we need to be using as these kids are coming back into the classrooms. You know, we got the same little two kids who like to run around with the mask, pulling the mask. How do we not use our anxiety the wrong way?
Yeah.
The wrong thing.
Yeah.
And then,
Trading masks.
and then we're being hotlined all of a sudden, you know? So yeah, we need a chill pill, and we need to know how to take it.
Right. Eric, for Cardinal Ritter?
We are still, as it relates to the mental health for our faculty, our professional development is coming up next week, and that's a major part. We're bringing in specialists to speak to them and address that and make a plan for that going forward. As far as our students, we are really ramping up our counseling services. Working with the St. Louis, it's a St. Louis-based counseling company that we work with. They have an in-house counselor for us, and just make sure that they are available for our students whenever they need them. One thing with mental health for our students is allowing them to be students. We are allowing them to participate in their extracurriculars as much as we can per CDC and the health district. And that, because that's really relaxation for students.
Right.
Doing something they love and as much as they can. That's a big step into easing them back into the building. I mean, back into the school flow without all the hindrance, and also educating them not just in the classroom but about COVID-19. A lot of times what they see on television is either you have it or you got it and you might die. And that's scary. That's very scary for a 13, 14-year-old kid who doesn't know how to process it or receive accurate information. So that's one thing we're working with our trainers, our SSM, our counselors, to educate our students on COVID-19 and as much as we know, and not just what they see on television and what they see on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram that may not even be true.
So you actually just really led me to go to a question I was going to ask Mr. Martin, and it's that outlet that some students need when it comes to their extracurricular activities. They look to go, like Mr. Foster, you teach drama and choir, that's their outlet, right? Mr. Martin, you have students who are playing sports, and that is their outlet outside of just going into the classroom and learning. This is, for some students, a way to get that anger off, to get the anxiety off, to just do something different. So what are the risks if, things with sports just kind of changes drastically? What do you foresee? Like, how are you all in the sports realm, or how are you all working to help those students?
I mean, just like everyone on the panel, we have a SSM athletic trainer who speaks to us every day about, just COVID and how to protect ourselves and the numbers and giving us the truths. But we do know that sports is an outlet. It's part of the educational process, because most kids, they need some type of activity, whether it be drama, whether it be musical, whether it be athletics. they have to have some type of outlet outside of the educational piece. Athletics is also educational also. But we understand that, you know, kids need it. Coaches need it. It's an outlet for myself, you know, so, you know, not just the kids, but the coaches that are involved. That's part of their mental, you know, makeup and things like that. Like you said, the mental part of it, you know, I don't like sitting in the classroom all day, you know, teaching and things like that. And then, you know, it gives me an outlet to get into the, you know, come outside and coach, and get some fresh air, you know, just like kids getting on a track or running cross country and cheerleadings, things of that nature, anything, these kids need it. And how it's going to look and how it's going to be affected, as you guys see in the news, the NCAA, professional, I mean, they're putting kids in bubbles, or not kids, but, you know, the professionals are doing the bubble thing to continue to play. And I know that we can't do the bubble, but we're taking every measure that we can to still have sports. But if we have to move it around, so be it. It's for the safety of the kids and the coaches and parents and everyone that's involved.
For the high school students who are playing those sports, is there still an opportunity for scholarships as they move forward in this school year for sports?
Yeah, there's opportunity for scholarships. You know, that and that's one of the pieces. You know, you have seniors, you know, looking for scholarship opportunities through athletics. You know, you just don't want to take away their last chance to, you know, showcase their skills to a particular school that may be recruiting them. You know, but for the most part, you know, they can still possibly walk on and still talk to those schools, and maybe they have film that they can show those schools and showcase their skill sets.
When you talk about the extracurricular activities, I did enjoy seeing students as we closed out the last school year, how they participated in prom and how we did graduation and all those things. For those who are teaching the high school age students, have your school districts already spoken about those special events or any of those things moving forward? Or is that we're just still so early in the game, we're just like trying to figure it out?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I just asked today, is there a senior class sponsor this year? And who is it? And right now we don't have one. So that's already telling that we're not really in that mode as of yet. Hopefully we can be planning something that's in person, but we don't have anything in place for that yet. And as far as choir and drama, I had projects that I've been doing all summer that I'm going to carry on into the fall semester. And the advantage for anybody who's a choir teacher or has a choir teacher at your school is that you can work one-on-one with students. So by the time the choir comes back, everyone's a soloist.
So we talked about challenges and just all the things that could be happening this school year for students who are attending school in person, online, hybrid. What is your positive outlooks on what this year could look like? Does anybody want to just share their thoughts there on what could come out right in in the many things that can go possibly wrong? What are some things that you all think could go right when this school year, in this new school year, with how we are with COVID-19?
I believe teachers will become better at integrating technology in their teaching, utilizing some of the newer advantages of the internet, of iPhones, computers, tablets, things like that, and getting a tangible knowledge of it so they can integrate it into their curriculum and make our students more knowledgeable of these things as they progress through high school. It will shore up some of the scabs that Band-Aids have been hiding in the academics, in the academic buildings. in the Department of Education at the government level, in the parents' households. It will make us take a deeper dive into how our educational system operates. And I think that will be for the betterment for students to come.
I think that the school home communication piece is going to be much stronger, because at this point we all have to communicate, and we know that communication between, especially as kids get older, it lessens. The communication between the teachers and the parents, it does lessen as they get older, because you want to assume that an older child will take care of business when that's not always the case.
Right.
So I think that school home connection will be much stronger when we go back, and it's going to help everybody in the end once things go back to normal, I guess.
We're in the new,
Go
they
back
say
to
the
that.
new normal. So
New
we don't know
normal.
what going back to normal is. We're gonna probably rewrite what normal is.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I think students are going to finally have the autonomy that they, the ownership of teaching and learning.
Yes.
While they're at home doing it virtually, when they come back into the classroom, they would know what that looked like. The whole idea of, I am responsible for this. And also, I think what's going to dissipate is off-task behavior.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
kids are going to be like, wait a minute, we're not used to all this disruptive talking or cell phone this or whatever. We're used to doing our work. So I'm praying that that's going to bring a change about how students look at the teaching and learning process.
I'm looking forward to just the elevating of educators to the status that they deserve, and to the respect and the salaries that they deserve. I'm looking really forward to that. And I just want to say a little something about youth sports without getting too political. And that's that I'm a numbers person, and I'm a data person. And if you really look at the youth sports, if you look at the contact tracing, the COVID numbers are not increased with youth sports. You look at the bars and those type of activities, that's where you see the transmission of COVID-19. It is not in youth sports. And I think youth sports have just really gotten a bad, rep, and it's not deserved.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I think it's an easy target because you don't have to worry about the tax dollars that generates or anything like that. So it's easy to say that a T-ball game is an incubator rather than a nightclub with 300 people not wearing masks.
Absolutely.
And I think that's been people's concerns, right, about going back to school, but it's just like we're still fully functioning in restaurants and all these other things. It's just like it causes a lot of confusion. It causes a lot of confusion. So thank you for adding that piece, Dr. Holmes. I appreciate that. Anyone else about any positive, looking forward to thoughts as we're going back into the school year?
I think you'll go back to that it takes a village to raise a child mentality. I think it's going to increase relationship building among teachers and parents, teachers and students. I think we will come together more as far as teachers not blaming parents, parents not blaming the schools, teachers not blaming admin. I think we are going to learn to put the finger down and say what is most important, and that is children. So my hopes is that it improves the overall morale of the educational system, as well as it improves the disparities in the educational system. So that is my hope, is that it improves both of those and go back to teachers are important. I think that has been lost because we're so focused on testing and everything, and we took away testing in April, and kids did not lose their minds, or teachers did not lose their minds. So I feel like not putting such a focus on testing, and not putting so much of the focus on the teachers are raising kids, but everybody just, let's put our fingers down and let's do what's best for kids. It takes a village, so we all have a part to play in it.
Correct. So we have about a few minutes left, and I want to give everyone an opportunity as we close out to give any final thoughts, resources that you want to share to the community, advice to the community, parents, advice to students, advice to just as we support, because this is, like you said, I like the piece where it said it is a village work, this community work. I've seen a lot of that, this village work that is coming into play as we're about to go back into the school year. So I'm going to start with Mr. Martin. If you have any closing thoughts of advice, resources you want to share out to everyone.
Well, my closing thought, first, I would like to thank the Young Urban League for having me be a part of this panel. And thank you guys. Just, wear your mask, do everything that we can do to, to curb our numbers and stay safe. Social distance, keep your distance. Just do what's asked of you. And try to enforce some young people who you see that may not be doing it, wearing their mask below their chin or hanging it off one side of their ear, just simply say, come on, man, put that mask on. We trying to stay safe.
Thank you. Mr. Foster, any closing thoughts, advice, resources?
I think that there's not a teacher that I know of who does this for the money. We really truly love what we're doing. Sometimes we love ourselves to sickness and anxiety and craziness, but we love what we're doing, and we are missing the mess out of our students. I'm personally missing my students because they provide a lifeline for me. They really do. They are part of my structure annually, and not being able to be around them has been very hard. But if I was a flight attendant and I made that statement about if the air pressure should change, put your mask on first before you place the mask on that child. That's because we want to make sure that that adult is in the right mind, has the energy and the oxygen to do what they need to do to save that child. And I just don't feel that certain districts, mine in particular, in regards to pre-K through fourth grade teachers going back to school, and some of us, I don't think that they're thinking about that enough. I'm not sure if we are being supplied the oxygen mask first in this particular situation, and that it has to be that way, or else you're not going to have anyone to teach these children.
Dr. Sparkling?
I just to go back to what Mr. Foster said, it has never been a situation of we just don't want to work and we just don't want to go to work. I know especially me, most definitely would love to go back to work and have my kids with me. It's all about safety and procedures and everybody's health. We don't know what everybody's situation is at home. So we do have to have some patience and some compassion and grace throughout this whole situation. We can't get frustrated with people because they don't know how to do anything. We have to show them how to do that. So just everybody be in the mindset of, yes, everybody wants to go back, but it has to be done correctly or else we'll be in the same situation again.
Ms. Marshall?
I would say ditto to Dr. Sparkling and Mr. Foster. Just having grace and understanding that right now, teachers, educators around the world, the fear is we know how quickly viruses spread in schools, and we are the sickest, and we know that parents pop kids with Tylenol and send them to school every day with fevers so that they're gone by the time they make it through those doors. And then I'm home 3 days because I caught the stomach bug from a kid 2 doors down. Mm-hmm. So we understand that schools are incubators for germs, and that is our fear. A lot of us have immune deficiencies. We are dealing with parents ourselves and kids who have asthma issues and everything. So we don't want to, give it to our kid, and our kid is in that 1%. But just be mindful of that. It's not that we don't want to be here for your kids. I cried in March and April when I knew I wasn't going back to the end of the school year, but I understood it because numbers continue to increase. So just having that grace. Teachers are not saying they don't want to work. I'm working harder now doing e-learning than I was ever working.
Yes.
classroom. My hours have tripled. So they were already doubled, but they have tripled, quadrupled in certain places. So we are working hard for your kids. This is new for everybody. This is not something that, you know, we're just trying to make you guys do the work as far as parents, making parents do the work. You guys are not homeschooling. You are assisting your child's learning. And that is a big thing, that educators are working hard to provide your child with adequate education, whether it be virtual learning or hybrid learning. But just as far as resources, there are many resources as far as to support your kids during reading, because I am a reading specialist. But you can easily access Google. Google is your friend. And you can really research any content area for free support, free websites. WashU is offering tutoring. Some of it is free or at a very low cost. Reach out to use Facebook. You utilize social media for a lot of things. Reach out for educators who are offering tutoring. I know I'm offering tutoring. Dr. Sparkman is offering tutoring.
Awesome.
Out to those teachers. A lot of teachers have YouTube channels where you can get that extra support, that extra tutoring resources. So just utilize your community resources as best as possible to be there and show up for your kids, because we educators are doing the same.
Mr. Cooper?
I just, you know, I have this quote that's at the tagline of all my emails, and it's from Malcolm X, and it's, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And I just take that and I put it in the aspect of, let's continue to research, understand, do our due diligence, and prepare today for our students tomorrow. As they need us, they need our expertise, they need our knowledge, they need our education in order for them to receive their passport to the future. Let's be patient with our parents. Some of them as are not as knowledgeable of certain things as we are. Let's be patient with our students. Let's be patient with each other in the education community, because we are fighting a battle on many fronts, but we have to make sure that the focus remains those students. Our health is important. The health of our colleagues are important, but we have a job to do, and that's to educate the young minds of this country. So let's stay together and stay strong, and we will, you know, move forward.
Awesome. Dr. Holmes?
I would just say that there is nothing more important than education and promoting equity and justice in the African American community. And the primary movers of education and promoting the equity and justice are educators. So we absolutely have to protect our educators. We have to protect children too, but we absolutely have to protect educators. We have to advocate for educators, provide them with the PPE, the necessary tools that they need to take care of our children, because they are educating our children, and our children are the future. And I just, again, want to advocate for more pay for educators.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
I'll say that again. And just to use this as an opportunity to, you know, just to advocate and say, you know, you see what educators are doing for our children, for our future, and we need to elevate them to the role that they deserve.
Awesome. And one last thing, Dr. Holmes, is Affinia Healthcare going to be continuing testing throughout the school year?
Probably throughout the entire year.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Just that resource. I'm just glad to know that that's still going to be there.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. I just want to thank you all. Like, this conversation has been very open, very real. I don't think everyone has an opinion, nothing's right or wrong, but it's just great that we put it out there, right? Because this is going to be an ongoing conversation as we are reopening, as we get to October, as we get to the next year, and we hit the 1 year mark of when we went into a whole shutdown, right? So just having this conversation is really important, not just amongst educators or parents or students, but just for the community. Because one word that just really just coming back to me is village, and how we do have to lean on each other in all industries during this right now. And I just really appreciate you all for coming on and just giving your expertise. You all are just so wise, working within your field and working with our students. And I just love that your hearts are there for the students and for yourselves, and for the parents as well. And so I want to thank you all for this evening and coming on to the Urban Young Professionals Town Hall as we talk about reopening. Continue to give yourselves grace. I know that that was something that was said. Continue to give yourselves grace and patience, and depend on each other and advocate. Continue to advocate for yourselves as educators, advocate for your students, advocate for your parents. I'm for sure that the Urban League Professionals will drop any resources for anyone who is on to follow back to, so you know where you can go for food, where you can go for anything with shelter, billing, any of those things. We're going to make sure that we drop all of that after this call. So I want to thank you all for letting me host and moderate. The conversation was very insightful for me, and I appreciate you all. So y'all have a good evening and continue to be great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.